Yeah, so the quote from today's guest is, in a world, no. The quote from my guest today is, in a fast world, slowness is a superpower. Some of you know him, but there's not many in Denmark who knows this name, and it's a very important name. So welcome to the podcast, Curious Enough, Nysgerrig Nok. I'm Susanne Seider, and today I'm thrilled to introduce a very special guest, Carl Honoré. You are an international acclaimed author, translate to 35 languages, I think, TED Talk speaker and broadcaster, and you're often referred to as the Godfather of slow living. Through your books, your talks, and your global advocacy, you've sparked a very powerful conversation about how we live our lives and whether going fast is always better. And that's a theme we agree on, and is exactly what this podcast is about. Your ideas have reached millions of people, and your TED Talks in praise of slowness has been viewed by over 3 million people. That's amazing. And you have delivered keynotes around the world. And you also made a very huge impact on my life, and you didn't even know it. Because back in 2032, I experienced a severe stress relation, and you know that because we talked together earlier this year. And I discovered a serious stress-related breakdown, a moment where I was forced to stop and reconsider how I was living my life. So in that midst of that search for a new way forward, I came across your name. And it was your words that laid the foundation for what eventually became my 3S method and the ultimate way of my new living. So your message is simple but powerful. When we slow down, we do things better. We live more deeply, more creatively, and more humanly. And those words continue to grow and guide me every single day. So with a very great gratitude and admiration, please join me in welcoming the one and only Carl Honoré.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. It's lovely to be here with you.
I'm so excited to have you here with me. So Carl, I'm really curious, why slow living? Why is that so important for us?
Well, human beings are slow. The trouble is that we are stuck in a fast world with a fast culture. So there's pressure coming from every angle to do everything more and more quickly. This is a culture of multitasking, of distraction, of over caffeination, right? We're constantly stuck in turbo mode. And of course, I'm not an extremist of slowness. I do love speed. I mean, sometimes faster is better. We all know that, but not always. There's another side of the equation here. And that equation side starts with an S and it spells out the word slow. We need to slow down. We're not machines. We're not algorithms. We're not built to be always on. We need to change gears. We need to rest and recharge. We need to reflect, think deeply. We need quiet and silence. We need all the slow stuff, right? That's what lights us up. That also gives us the energy and the stamina and the imagination to go off into the faster moments and do the fast stuff better by having those slow moments, right? So it's that kind of yin and yang between fast and slow. So this whole slow philosophy that I've spent the last years, promoting around the world is really, I often sum it up by using a term from music, which is musicians talk about the tempo giusto, the correct tempo for each piece of music. And I think that gets at what slow with a capital S, the slow movement is all about. It's about finding the right pace, the right speed, the right rhythm, the right groove, the right tempo for the moment. So some moments require you to go fast, but others require you to slow down. And actually, every moment needs you to have a slow, every moment needs you to be slow on the inside in a sense as well, even fast moments, that kind of internal calm. So slow really is a mindset. It's like being present and in the moment, doing one thing at a time. Ultimately, it's really doing everything not as fast as possible, but as well as possible. Really simple idea, but one that can change everything in a good way.
I agree. Being slow is not being lazy. It's not being shy of work. It's not being shy of fastness. It's a state of mind. It's a centerpiece you have that you can control when everything around you is speeding. You can take this little piece of quietness, slowness, and you can keep your heart and your mind still.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about finding the right groove. It's like being a kind of Zen bubble in a
Yeah,
fast world. Yeah, it's slowness is a superpower, really, because when everybody else is running around like a headless chicken, the person who's going to come out on top, who's going to live a life worth living, is the person who knows how to put on the brakes and slow down.
I'm thinking the turtle and the bunny, you know the story?
Yeah, the tortoise and the
Yeah,
hare. Yeah,
yeah,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
exactly. Um,
They're ancient truths. I'm not
it is.
saying anything new here. I may be using different language to say it, but human beings are the same as they were when that story of the tortoise and the hare was first told, right? We need slowness, right? Slowness is our superpower. And I think it's even more urgent now to slow
Mhm.
down than ever before because with artificial intelligence, AI
Yeah.
is speeding up everything. And we have a choice as human beings. We can choose to try and compete on the speed with AI, and we'll lose that battle. We've already lost it. Or we can
We,
choose to double down on the stuff that we do well, the slow stuff, reflection, empathy, love, creativity, all the things that require slowness that humans are really good at.
Mhm.
That's, I think, where we need to be putting our chips on the table, not trying to be faster and faster and outspeed AI. We've lost that race already.
Yeah, we did. The creativity to make up stuff, to keep going forward, to keep being excited and curious about stuff. That's slowness. What
Yes.
about
Yeah.
you're talking about the children, about these certain beliefs, the things that we are constantly told that you have certain beliefs and certain habits from an early age. What do we do for our kids in this world?
Well, I think that every society ends up creating the childhood that reflects the strengths and weaknesses of that society. And we are a
Mm.
society stuck in roadrunner mode, right? So we've just passed on the virus of hurry to the next generation. So a lot of kids come out of the womb and they hit the ground running, right? With Baby Einstein DVDs and baby sign language classes and baby goes pro sports clinics and Mandarin lessons in the Moses basket and then endless extracurricular activities. But of
Yeah,
course, that's not what children need. This high speed, high stakes, high pressure approach to raising kids doesn't work. Children need slowness. They need the time and the space to play freely, to explore the world on their own terms, to get bored even, right? We're
yes.
we're also terrified of boredom nowadays. And yet throughout history, when a child said to a parent, I'm bored, that was the kid's problem. Like your mom or your dad would say, well, too bad, go outside and play or find a friend. Or they would use that eternal expression, use your imagination. Now, what
Hmm.
happens when a child says they're bored? A parent freaks out and thinks, oh no, my kid's bored. I'm failing as a parent. Where's the iPad? Maybe we need
Yeah,
another extracurricular activity. No, what you need in that moment is to back off, slow down, and let the boredom happen. Because it's
exactly.
precisely in those moments of unstructured time, of not knowing what's coming next, moments without tests, targets, and timetables, moments of
Mm.
boredom, even that children learn how to think, create, use their imagination, get along with their peers, regulate their emotions, look into themselves, and work out who they are rather than what everybody else wants them to be, right? Children need slowness, which is
Exactly.
why, the good news is that there's a big push around the world as part of the slow movement to bring slow back for kids with whether it's slow education or slow parenting, slow families, just allowing children to be children, which
Mhm.
means to slow down.
And it's okay to tell the kids that, oh, you are bored. How lucky you are.
It's the
You have
boredom.
all possibilities.
Exactly. I mean, in our culture tells you the boredom is the worst punishment. It's a form of failure. When in
Mm.
fact, boredom is the greatest gift, right? You have to fall through the boredom is the trampoline that allows you to fire up your imagination and engage deeply with the world, especially for children, but for adults too, right? You know, but we've lost the art of boredom because we are constantly on a hamster wheel of stimulation and distraction. So you get on a bus now, or you walk down the street, you sit in a cafe, nobody is looking out the window letting their mind wander. They're all looking down at their phones, trying to find the next dopamine squirt, the next little burst of excitement, adrenaline, distraction, right? Like boredom has been completely squeezed out of modern life. And that's a problem because we need boredom in the same way as we need slowness. You know, they're connected.
It is. We are lost in that connection to other people. I remember when I was a child, I was going from my hometown to my grandmother's town in a train. And I was playing with the other kids and I was having a conversation. I was having a thrill. It was fun. And the same on the bus when I was going from school to my home and the other way around. We were talking to each other.
Yeah.
Now when I take the train on the bus, there's no connection.
No.
Just sitting there. And then I can take my phone up because when I'm starting to look out the window, I'm the freak because, oh my God, she's watching out. She's looking out the window. What's the matter with her?
Yeah. I mean, this is the terrible paradox of the modern world is that we're more connected electronically than ever before. But because of that, we're more disconnected on a human level with other people and ourselves. We have lost that capacity just to open up and be with somebody. We're constantly rushing, doing, and we've gone from being human beings to human doings. Right? And it's in the being that the music and the magic happen. That's where the real gold, the jam of life happens, right? It's just in those little random encounters you have with a stranger on a train or standing in a queue at getting your coffee. You have a little conversation with someone. Those little moments have been edited out of modern life because we just never stop going, doing, and looking at our phones. And you see it so young with children. You go into restaurants now, and a family will be sitting around the table, and instead of a conversation going on or the child being, they're just plunked in front of an iPad watching a cartoon. And you just think, goodness me. I am a parent too, right? So I've gone through having small children. I know what it's like to be in a restaurant when you want to talk to your partner and your kids. You know, of course, I understand all those frustrations, but I don't think this, and I would be tempted myself in that position sometimes to put an iPad in front of them. But I think it's a temptation that it's worth resisting because you're sending the wrong message to a child when you just you plug them into the matrix and they are there, they are present physically, but they're not present emotionally, cognitively, spiritually. They're just not there. That's the worst kind of lesson, I think, to hand on to a child. What we need to be doing, the one thing we have as human beings, we're social animals. We occupy the same physical space together. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. Sometimes people have arguments. They don't always agree. That's life, though, right? That's how you learn how to get on in the world. It's not how, as soon as there's a little bit of discomfort, you dive into the iPad or you fire up Netflix because you feel, discomforted. No, especially children need to have that experience of social interaction. And I think it explains why if you talk to HR, human resource people around the world in companies and so on, one of the things they notice is that the generation coming into the workforce now struggle with a lot of the basic social skills, like having a conversation face to face, getting uncomfortable feedback. They just would rather have everything just dealt to them electronically, not have to deal with another person. And that doesn't paint a happy future picture for the human race, right? Too much is being lost in this dash to plug in to everything, to digitize everything. We're losing what it is to be human.
Yes, I think that's exactly the point. We're losing ourselves because from the early days we are grown up to be storytellers. We learned about the world, we learned about our neighborhood and the nearest city by stories, by people walking around and telling their experience. And then I can take that experience and make it into something of my own. And we were forced to live slow. We were forced to be connected in another way because I needed to rely on you for my own survival. Now I can do everything myself. I can survive by my own, and really don't need anyone else around me because I have money, I have security, I have a home. But what happens when we take all this human relationships away and we are just connected to that iPad or to the computer or our iPhone?
Yeah.
That is something I think is very important to be asking about, because that's not slow living, that's just pushing faster.
That's not living, that's just surviving.
Yeah.
What you said there reminds me of a famous proverb which goes like this. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to
Mm.
go, if you want to go far, go together. And that's a reminder of how all the things you just said there, social, human, they all connect with slow. We we need to slow down to be together, to tell stories, to share stories, to listen, to feel, to empathize, understand. All of that stuff requires us to slow down. And the predominant culture is pushing us in a different direction. It's, here's the answer, right? We're not going to tell you a story. We're just going to give you the data. Here's the final solution, right? Here's the last, here's the box you can tick.
Yeah.
And that gives you the illusion of being productive, of being alive, of getting stuff done. But it's an illusion, because really what we want, what we need as human beings, is the deep experience of the world. And that only comes through slowing down. And I love the way you talked about stories, because I think that's a really useful way of thinking about fast, slow, and pace and human beings. Because as you say, we tell stories. That's how we make sense of the world. That's how we celebrate life. That's how we process emotions and metabolize experience. Stories are what we are. And the one thing
Mm.
you cannot do with a story, and still for it to be a story, is to speed it up, right? Stories, by their very nature, work with that phrase I used at the beginning, the tempo giusto, right? They have their own
Mm.
pace. A story has a pace. You slow down to tell a story. You can feel yourself. A good storyteller speaks slowly, goes back, tells you there are pauses, right? It's just, and you need to slow down for that, right? And as soon as you try and speed it up, it ceases to become a story. It becomes noise or distraction.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that melody and the way that we tell the story and going back like a song actually,
Yeah, it is.
where you have.
It is it's the cadence, it's the music, it's the melody. I mean, stories. I mean, songs are kinds of stories as well, the best songs. And
Yeah.
again, it's all about tempo. It's about of course, sometimes you may have a little moment where you speed it up, but basically you're looking for the right tempo, and very often that means slowing it down. And yeah, I mean, I heard every once in a while I hear a really depressing thing about modern life. And I heard this other thing recently, this whole phenomenon called second screening. Have you heard of this?
No,
That people now, when they sit down to watch, say, Netflix, they're they're looking at their phones at the same time, right? So they're not really fully paying attention to the story on the screen. And
no.
because that's so common now, movie makers, people who create series, are taking it into account. So they're making the stories, quicker, simpler, less nuanced, because they know that many people will be looking at their phone at the same time. So they call it second screen, being aware of the second screen. And you just think, I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, talk about a waste of time. What is the point of half watching a TV series or a movie, or half listening to something on? Everything we're doing is by half or third or a quarter, instead of doing things 100%. And I think that's another way of thinking about what the slow philosophy, slow living, whatever you want to call it, slow with a capital S, is all about. It's about
Mm.
going all in on the moment. So whatever you're doing, you give it 100% of your time, the time and attention it deserves. And the attention
Mm.
it deserves is usually 100%. It's not
Exactly.
it's not split screen, right? Where you're half doing this and you're half, and a quarter of your mind is thinking that, and the part of you, no, it's kind of be there, be now, live that moment
Mm.
fully and get the most out of it. And that's sort of really another way of thinking about slow, I think, right? It's a good lens for bringing slow back into the conversation.
The funny thing is that the first time I told people I was living like this, I was thinking slow, I was doing slow, the reaction was, oh my God, then you are not doing anything at all.
Yeah.
You get stuff done when you're slow. And then I said, are you imagining that I'm doing things in slow motion? Because that is not the point.
Yeah.
I now do so much more than I ever did before, that I ever imagined I could do,
Yeah.
because I know how to prioritize my time. I have this Pomodoro method, that it means
Oh, yes,
tomato
yes.
on
Yeah.
Spanish,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you are making, I think it's about 20 minutes, and then you have 5 minutes pause, and then you work again for
Hmm.
20 minutes. But in those minutes, I do more stuff than I did before on an hour.
Yeah.
20
Well,
minutes done is an hour's work.
yeah. I mean that's what I call the delicious paradox of slow. That
Mm.
when you slow down and give things the time and attention they deserve, and you take breaks so you understand that the brain can focus and do deep work maybe for 10, 15, perhaps 20 minutes, then you need to slow it right down, have a cup of tea, go for a walk, do some yoga or whatever. Then you come back
Mm.
for the next 20 minutes or whatever, like the Pomodoro technique you're talking about there. That's when you really light it up. That's when your productivity goes up through the roof, right? You by apparently by doing less, you get more done and you get it done better. And sometimes you get it done faster, right? And
Yeah.
I know that delicious paradox so well from my own work. I used to be somebody who thought you got to power through. I'm not going to take a break. I'm going through to lunch. You just get so much less done. We need to shift gears. Sometimes you're in fifth gear, sometimes you're down in first, sometimes you idle, you're neutral, you stop, you rest, and then you come back and you can go faster when you need to. I think we all kind of know this works, but because the culture is constantly bombarding us with the message that slow is bad, slow is lazy, slow is
Mm.
boring, slow is stupid, right? Like that's so ingrained in our culture that even when we can feel in our bones that it would be good to put on the brakes, even when we yearn to slow down, we don't do it because we feel ashamed or guilty or embarrassed, or we've just inertia, right? We've lost the habit. And so I think a big part of helping people slow down is helping them overcome the taboo of slowness. And that's a lot of the work I do publicly, right? It's just tackling this taboo. It's just constantly reminding people that slow is not boring, stupid, lazy, unproductive, right? It's the opposite. It means doing things well and doing them better and enjoying them more because you have mastered the art of choosing the right pace. You've chosen when to go fast, when to go slow, when to go medium, whatever it is, so that you do everything better and enjoy it more.
It's amazing. I was walking this morning, and there was a I don't know what it's called in English. On Danish, it's a fiskehejre, a big bird who is eating fish. It's black and white, and then they have such long feathers on the back of their head.
Mm.
Very beautiful bird. But I usually never see that kind of animals around our house. And just this morning I saw one. And that moment where I just stood still and realized that this amazing animal was before me,
Mm.
it was so magical. And there was a spider in this web, and there was a little caterpillar in some kind of string. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe it's about to become a butterfly or something. But normally people just crash through this forest and stamp across the ground, never knowing what they are
Yeah.
missing. And
Well, that's it. I mean, people often say to me, I can't slow down because life will pass me by.
mm,
But the truth is that life is what's happening right here, right now. And the only way to enjoy it fully, to get the most out of it, to savor it, to spot that unusual bird, to enjoy the sight of a spider and the way, whatever it is, the only way to get the most out of life is to slow down into the moment. And the funny thing is people think, oh, well, at the beginning, when they start to try slowing down, often they're thinking, well, like we said before, oh, this is going to be boring. I mean, actually, they find it's the opposite, that suddenly it's like a light bulb goes on in the world and things they didn't see before become clear. Things they couldn't hear before are now suddenly audible, right? It's like taking the world from black and white to Technicolor, right?
Yes,
Or
exactly.
from a crackly audio version to Dolby sound, right? Because everything just gets more vivid, it gets sharp. You were able to feel and discern and enjoy the fine grain and the texture of sound, light, smells, all that stuff, right? Everything just lights up. Your five senses are suddenly going again. Life is just so much more vivid and pleasant and exciting when you slow
Yeah,
down to it.
it's a pop-up book. You're just opening this page and a whole new world is
Yeah.
exactly before your feet. It's amazing. But I think also it's this taboo you are talking about. Um, it's because everything we are learned and told is that fast is better. So when a company, I'm looking for work right now, and when a company hears my thoughts about how I want to work, I can feel that kind of distance making there. I don't know, I'm not quite sure. Are you someone I want to
Yeah.
put my money on? And then I try to tell them about this, but I can just see these people thinking, no, this is
Yeah.
not going to be a match.
Yeah.
So I really want to put this not just out in the world for my listeners or for your followers, but globally, really want to be the core of our life. The slow is good. Slow is the best way we can do it. The nature is the most slow thing we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it always get things done in the right time, in the right pace.
Yeah. Nature is very wise and is a great teacher. And one of its main lessons for us is patience and slowness. Yeah, as you say, nature cannot be hurried. You can't
Mm.
speed up nature. We try as human
Yes.
beings, but it never ends well for us
No.
or for nature. Nature is the tempo giusto in action, right? It does things at the right speed, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, and it gets everything done, and it gets it done. It gets it done well. So yeah, Mother Nature. And actually, when people ask me for tips on how to slow down, a good starting point is just to go out into nature.
It
Now,
is.
obviously, it's nice if you can do a 4 hour hike in the Rocky Mountains. Not everybody can do that. Even if you just go out to the park around the corner from your office for 10 minutes, sit in the grass, lean up against a tree, being in green space, whether you call it ecotherapy or forest bathing or
Mm.
whatever it is, right? Just slows us down because we feel it in our bones, in our right in our core of our being. We can sense that nature is saying it's okay, let go, just go with the flow. You are okay. It's okay, it will be okay. You are safe here, you're in good hands, you're in slow hands. Right? And there's something about nature that just we've all felt it, right? That just some contact with the green world slows us down. So I always say, if people say, well, how do I start slowing down, I would always say that's one of my top things, is just get out into nature a little bit every day.
What about our relationships as couples? In Denmark, the divorce rate is unbelievable high. I think it's around 50-50
Mhm.
who are divorced. And I think, in my view, it's because we are so fixated on being the best version of ourselves. I need to be on my goals. I need to do me, but also all that stress and pressure from everything around us. How do we survive in a relationship?
Yeah. I mean, I think there are a number of reasons why romantic relationships break. I mean, you
Because
mentioned that, yeah. But I do think too much speed is part of the equation, right? Because what is it that holds us together as a
mm,
couple? It's intimacy, it's touch, it's understanding, it's warmth. It's all the things you have to slow down to do. So if you're both rushing around, busy, looking at your phones in bed, juggling 55 things every hour, you just don't have the bandwidth or the energy or the heart space to hold the other person, to evolve together, right? You start off at the beginning of a relationship, everything's great, but people change, life change. And in order to walk together into the future, you have to slow down so that you can hear each other and feel each other and work out what your next step is going to be together. And that's all about slow. I mean, it just is. You cannot download a healthy relationship from Amazon, right?
Yeah.
You,
No,
you
you
can't
cannot.
you can't order it from Deliveroo. It's something that you've got to, I hate to use the word work on, but work on in the sense of making an investment. And the investment is time and attention. And that means
Making
slowing
it
down.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see it. It's not just Denmark, right? These things happen. I mean, the divorce rates are pretty close to 50% around the Western world. And I mean, there are a lot of reasons for that, but I do think too much speed, the virus of hurry is a factor, a big factor.
That is my idea, that it is one of the reasons. And I think also the fact that we are aging faster is also because we're going so fast. So when we are slowing down and we are being mindful and peaceful in ourselves and have that balance instead of control, I think we are maybe not completely certain about a great retirement, but maybe just a bit better retirement, so I can get old and live long and healthy.
Yeah. I mean, slowing down, living in a slow way is a very good investment for your future, right? It makes you cognitively and physically well and fit. So you're going to be in better shape today. You're also going to be in better shape 50, 30 years from now.
Mm.
It's an investment. Slowing down is the best investment you will ever make in your life, but it's an investment in now, in actually what's happening right now in your life, but also in the future, which is the best kind of investment, right? It's paying off from now, from today, from the moment you make the investment, and it carries on. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. Slow.
We are getting our dopamine by getting effect right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the payoff now. It's not like slow is, I don't know, like eating a big bowl of bran, right? Which is, not much fun. And okay, maybe it'll help you in a few years' time. You feel it once you start slowing down properly in the here and now, you start feeling the benefits. You feel more connected to other people, you take more pleasure, you feel more rested, you're more alive. The world is more bright and exciting. You get it from the start, which makes it easier to keep going, right? So it's really just taking the first step, taking a little bit of making an experiment with slow, trying it out a little bit, and you think, oh, actually, you know what? I was wrong about this slow thing. It's actually pretty good. And then you try something else and you just build up. You build up your own version, your own recipe of slow. Because that's the other thing about slow and slowing down. It's not a universal formula, right? I mean, my way of slowing down is going to be different from yours, and ours will be different from every person listening to the podcast. The principle that we need slow is universal, but what that looks like day to day, moment to moment is going to be different for all of us. We are all unique. We all have our own personal metronome. We're all different. We all have different lives and circumstances, but we can all find the right recipe for us. We just have to have the courage, the imagination to slow down and do it.
I think we are going to stop with those wonderful, encouraging words. And Carl, once again, just thank you. Thank you for your precious time. And it's always a pleasure. You are, as I wrote to you, I really admire the way you are speaking. I'm speaking fast because English is not my main language. But I like the presence. You can't see this when you're hearing this, but there has been a lot of eye contact. There has been a lot of connection
Yeah.
through this talk. Even though you are in London and I'm here in Esbjerg, so there's a long distance between us. But you can keep an connection that is that has value, even though you are on Zoom or even though you are far away. If you invest in it and if you are being interested in slow in this thing you're doing in the present. So it has been a real pleasure having you, and I'm again truly grateful for the insights that you have shared. I think all of the listeners can understand you, and if you can't understand me, then please tell me, and then I will make a Danish version or a better English version for you, maybe with subtitles.
I won't be able to help you out with Danish. You might need AI to turn me into Danish. Yeah.
Their AI can be useful. I hope that your words will have a deep impact on the listeners for their own journey as it has on mine. And I hope that you keep going inspiring all these people that you inspire every single day. It's such an amazing thing you're doing for us, for yourself. And yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to chat with you. And I feel like we're kindred spirits. We're on the same team here. We're trying to help people find their inner tortoise and live better. I'll leave the listeners with a final quote from Mae West, the actress, who said once, "Anything worth doing is worth doing slowly." Very useful advice to live your life by. And if anyone wants any more information about me, carlhonoré.info. Everything is there, videos, everything you could possibly want, books, etc.